'Tis a fine foggy night tonight, and I doubt if anyone has ever told you of the marvelous fogs we have in Aberdeen.
Oh, God!
Eugene.
Bakersfield.
Los Angeles.
San Francisco.
He wasn't giving me my props in Oaktown.
Portland. Los Angeles.
Los Angeles de California.
San Francisco.
San Francisco.
You gotta find your Irvine.
Irvine?
Hanford.
Eugene.
Seattle.
Seattle.
Seattle. Sacramento.
Fresno.
We're going to Vancouver.
Modesto, California.
San Diego.
Gina.
You know, there might be an opening for a manager in Visalia next spring.
Yakima, right?
Vallejo, California, the V.
California.
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, and welcome to the West Coast Sojourn Podcast. We're going to do a special episode today. I'm Donnell Alexander.
And I am Lev Anderson.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this thing that's on everyone's mind. I hope nothing crazy's happened before it gets started, but what's the troops looking like up there in Portland, Oregon, Lev?
Well, yes, as you may know, Donald Trump has asked to send in 200 National Guard troops. I mean, he said military, but I think it's National Guard troops. Pete Hegseth, his Secretary of War, the Department of War, it's no longer the Department of Defense, but he needs to go into war-ravaged Portland where shops are, being torn asunder and anarchy is ruling the streets and it's war-ravaged. There was a point in 2020, around the George Floyd protests and then Trump sending in federal troops to protect the federal courthouse downtown Portland, where it, there felt like a little bit of anarchy, a little slight hint of danger and tear gas in the air. But it really hasn't been like that. And it hasn't been like that for a couple of years at least.
Oh, yeah.
And it was important too, because I think the governor of Oregon pointed out, you're listening to outdated news or false information, right? So the thing that they're supposedly coming to sending the federal troops to Portland for is to protect the ICE facility, which is in kind of the southern end of downtown, kind of isolated.
What's that? Right by your house.
Yeah, I'm probably less than a mile away from it, and it's kind of this isolated part of town. I mean, there's not a whole lot there. There's apartments of the South Waterfront development. It's kind of on the southern edge of downtown, and it's also happens to be really close to a Tesla dealership. So I think the two of those kind of get conflated in terms of protest energy and Trump's attention or whatnot. There's been some vandalism, I guess, at the Tesla place, some vandalism at ICE. They say they're burning down buildings and stuff. I think there was one instance of somebody trying to start a fire and it didn't really do anything and that person was arrested. Anyways, so there's basically not a lot going on there. There's some protests, I guess, at night, but, nothing crazy. Right. So now you get the troops in there and now there's constantly 2 helicopters circling around that area at night, the last 2 nights, and we hear it. And there's been a lot of complaints because there's people that live down there that say it's loud and it's intense. Like, the helicopters are vibrating their apartments. And it kind of goes on, until the wee hours of the morning. And I don't think there's really that much going on there. I think there are some protests, but I don't think there's been anything out of control. And of course, it's all been ramped up with the presence of these federal officers. Obviously, I think it's just a ploy by Trump, and this is where I'll stop talking, or at least let you chime in. This is a ploy from Trump to get us used to having the military used against us.
Right.
When shit goes down and he claims mass election fraud when Republicans lose, either in the midterms or when the next general election happens, there's going to be some protests and everything. And he's going to, this is just desensitizing us to the actions of the U.S. military, putting down U.S. population, whereas they're really not even supposed to be allowed to do it at all. But he's made this he keeps pushing for Antifa and other organizations to be labeled terrorists. And once you do that, their civil liberties go out the window because they're terrorists. And so I feel like that's where we are. It's kind of all for show. I'm just hoping people here in Portland keep chill and just let them like pick up trash for us, you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, I have a two-part question here. My understanding was all of this is a pretext for the stuff you're talking about, but what instigated it was Portland's mayor last week saying ICE had violations and that there was a meaningful reaction to ISIS being here. The second part of it is I'm coming back next Friday from Sacramento, this Friday, Saturday from Sacramento. Am I going to be able to smoke weed in the streets? Never mind the deportations. That's what I'm concerned about.
I mean, in front of the ICE facility, you probably still will be able to smoke weed, and but you might get deported as well.
Yeah,
or at least detained.
They do have my pictures because they're whenever you're out there protesting, they're recording you.
Oh yeah, facial recognition.
Yeah, you're in the system. But the other part of that,
the other part being
about the mayor, about Ted.
Yeah, so it wasn't Ted, it's Keith Wilson. Wilson now.
Right.
No, Ted was the previous mayor, but another middle-aged white dude.
But not a socialist.
My understanding was that ICE was violating terms of land use agreements. They were holding people longer in detention than they're allowed, like kind of, I think, based on the facility itself. Like it's not designed to hold X number of people for X number of days. And they're doing that. They're holding more people for longer. That's my understanding of what they were violating, and what the mayor was talking about. So of course Trump is like, well, violate this, and so yeah.
I was listening to the New York Times. I was listening to Ken Burns being interviewed on the New York Times, and he's focused on this idea of what the next American story is. That's at least the theme that they had him talk about. And I wonder if you had to write the next American story at post-Trump, with all these norms being violated, where do you think we go after this? Are we just a much more restricted country? It takes a while to undo a lot of the norms or to replace the norms that he's undone.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because I feel like in so many ways, Trump is a historic anomaly, and that even other people in the MAGA movement are not quite like he is, because he's got this combination of extreme confidence and extreme ignorance, and I think when you're that ignorant of stuff, then you make these oversteps. You think you can just kind of do whatever. You're not assessing the whole context of situations. You're just kind of coming in with what you want. And I feel like most politicians, they assess stuff because they want to be successful in a way that doesn't really matter to Trump because he's already got this high level of support. He's not catering to anybody except his own ego. So I don't know. I don't think things will go back to totally normal. And what they say with the presidency, right? Like the executive powers are getting stronger and stronger. Obama even was using drones in ways that other presidents hadn't used the military to fight our enemies. So in that sense, he might be doing things that if it's a Democratic president, they might be like, well, I'm going to keep doing that too. Or this guy did it, I'm going to do it too. Or now that is part of the customs of being the president of the United States is we can make these unilateral decisions on tariffs. Whereas before that used to be a congressional thing. So in terms of the next story of American public life or whatnot that Ken Burns might be addressing, I'd be curious to hear what he said, but I think there's going to be more regression to the mean than further polarization when Trump is gone. But I don't know. And, you start getting people desensitized to things or thinking that things are more normal this way, then maybe it can just get carried off, or just the way that the news cycle works now. Maybe things will get a little more desperate quicker. I'm not sure. What did Ken Burns say, or what do you think?
Well, he was very reflective about the past. I was really working up to the point where he was delivering a coherent take. I was thinking about, and maybe this has always been the case. I don't think it has always been the case, but there was a Times piece about Russell Vogt from the Office of Management and Budget. Is that what Budget Management?
Yeah.
He was really the author of all this stuff. You know, I was thinking about the norms that he's helped establish.
The Project 2025
in writing
guy,
Project 2025. But I also noticed his title is Office of Business Management, and he's clearly like a utility player. You know, he's all over. He's like the guy that you call a point guard, but he's actually playing low power forward. So, you know, I wonder if the meaninglessness of names will be the same. I don't think it'll be natural to have, you know, Marco Rubio has like 3 jobs, 3 of the biggest jobs in the world. And I don't think that sort of chaos is going to endure. And it's really, that's why I called it optimistic. It's really premature to be talking about the next story. The next American story could be real live gulags, you know?
Right. I mean, I think the way I view the Trump administration, it's kind of like these Shakespearean kings and monarchs, right? Like there's all the courtesans, the people in the court around him that are all vying for his favor, or, you know, have their own agendas that they're trying to do that may outlive the king or whatnot, or the little, you know, the backstage scheming and stuff. So in that sense, I feel like even the first Trump administration was full of these characters, most of them rather unsavory, most of them not used to working as civil servants.
Right.
They're coming out of business or podcasting, you know, like, it's like, you know, you put me in government and all hell is going to fucking break loose. You know, I'm going to be doing all kinds of crazy shit. But so they're kind of allowed free reign until they piss off the king. Right. So,
yeah. I mean, the big obvious difference between this term and the 2016 term is that the sycophants are everywhere. You know, it's obviously fewer qualified people, but fewer people who will tell them no. There's one more point I wanted to make about that Times piece. You know, it was a long piece because it's the top story for a minute on the app. And there was a quote from Charlie Kirk that said, Russell Vogt is a total rock star. And if that is not abusing, if you've seen Russell Vogt, you know he is the inverse of a rock star. Everything he's doing is the inverse of a rock star. These are the things that piss me off, not the actual deaths and kidnappings and prosecution of Comey, but abusive language.
But the misuse of rock star.
Oh my God. I mean, as rock star is so corny that I saw Spoon in Sacramento on Saturday night. I went to a show, and it was a perfect thing because it's catchy stuff that you could take your kids to, but at the same time, there were so many people in their 50s, maybe even 60s. But still, with that wide, broad definition of rock star, Russell Vogt doesn't count. My point is that quote was in like the 5th paragraph. And then the real quote is like, this man is a harm for every citizen of the United States was in graph 12. You know, I feel like there's this kind of negotiation going on. Even with Evan Klein in his controversial column from last week, it was, I could feel him career negotiating. What does my life look like after Charlie Kirk, you know? And I listened to him argue with debate because they're polite friends with Ta-Nehisi Coates. And he didn't have a good reaction. He didn't have a good explanation for someone who's so dependably into details and organization of thought and policy. He just had it felt like the time to be making amends when he could have said it felt like time to be legitimizing one of the worst people in public life. So yeah, I just had to bring that up because the times ain't a changing. It is always about the status quo, the status quo, the status quo. They don't want to be a factor, even when you kind of need them to be a factor, you know?
These mainstream media institutions, I don't really understand that much. And I think another example are these, you know, settlements that they've done with the Trump administration that are funding his presidential library
in Miami. Where people go to read.
Right. That hot. Well, I was going to say that hotbed of intellectualism, but there are some really smart people down there, and I'm not dissing them.
But
Yeah,
I got to make you're right. But when you locate your library in Florida, you're making a kind of statement. The main statement being that that's the only place that'll have you.
yeah, and it's not his hometown usually, or where he was born and raised, right? Because I could see it being very difficult for him to build something in New York City.
Even Queens.
Even Queens.
Yeah.
I think that would be really hard. I mean, one, it'd probably be more expensive. But I mean, what? He's got an airplane that was given to him that's supposedly going to be part of his library because he's spent so much time in that airplane. Or it's just an example of the enormous grift operation that this guy is running out of the White House, having all these oligarchs or Saudi kings or, you know, wealthy people from around the world giving him money for his cryptocurrency or investing in one of his kids' things, you know, and it's like the Biden crime. That's the other thing I don't understand about the mainstream media is they gave so much oxygen to the Biden crime family and so on. But like, you know, the Trump family is making money hand over fist, like 1 million times more, almost literally 1 million times more dollars than Hunter Biden could have ever hoped to make.
Yeah.
And they're making these deals, whether it's Jared Kushner getting Saudi backing to buy real estate in New York City or whatever. It's shameful. And so I think locating in Florida, yeah, I guess it just kind of works because anything goes. I'm not sure. Like, because I don't think New York would put up with it. That's for sure.
No. And, you know, the Biden crime family thing, I almost wish that these media outlets would make a point of staying on task because this was such a thing. It doesn't stop being a thing because Biden's not there anymore, because the disappearance of this theme, largely the disappearance of any evidence, is a story. You know, I am just always bothered by the keeping of the status quo and playing sort of politics. You know, the New York Times obviously does great reporting on the presidency or this crisis, but there's still always a toe on the land. They want to stay on firm ground. I don't know what it's a mission thing. Is this still the Sulzberger family that owns it? I think it is. Anyway, I wanted to bug you about another meeting.
I think it is. And also, like, they're like the kind of institution that's going to keep an eye on the stock market. Like, they don't want there to be a run on people taking money out of the banks or something. So that is a bottom line for them for sure.
Good point. Another media beef. Can we talk about Oregon at Penn State?
Oh, yeah. All right. So, you know, out here on the West Coast, we all work really hard, but we don't get the credit. You know? Like,
were the Ducks favored or not in that game?
The Ducks Penn State was a 3.5-point favorite over the Ducks. So if people don't know what the heck we're talking about college football. It's not a huge thing. I just thought, you know, we talk sports on this show.
Saturday night,
huge game, biggest college football game of the year thus far, I think. And Oregon went in ranked number 6. Ohio State was ranked number 3.
Are we talking about Penn State?
Penn State. I'm sorry, Penn State. Ohio State's really the maybe the best team in football, but I mean, I think just Oregon is always seen as like, oh, they're the flashy team with a lot of quick guys that can score touchdowns and they wear cool uniforms because they're basically sponsored by Nike and they don't have that. That's about it with Oregon. They're always going to be good, but they're not a powerhouse. You know, they're not going to be able to dominate these other teams. And everyone keeps talking about how great Penn State was, and Oregon came in there and basically killed them in front of 110,000 Penn State fans on a Saturday night, and and now everyone's saying Oregon is going to be, you know, they're number 2 in the country all of a sudden. But I just feel like going in every year they're always like poo-pooing Oregon until Oregon starts. Like last year they went undefeated in the regular season, even beating Ohio State. And lost one game in the end to the team that won the championship, Ohio State. But then they come in and they were like ranked like 12th or something nationally when the season started. You know what I mean? Like all these other teams were ranked way ahead of them that are supposedly like blue bloods or whatnot. And so they have to kind of like go into Penn State and kick their ass to get some kind of respect.
I think there's a lot of faux objectivity where college football voting and all that goes. I mean, I want to push back on one thing though, because I I don't think it is Oregon specifically, as much as like the Pac-12 at the end lost a lot of credibility, and they lost a lot of games they should have won when it's held against the entire conference.
Right. They're always kind of seen as like, Oregon, USC, University of Washington, always seen as good programs, but not great programs. And and I think there is some of that. Yeah, the Pac-12 fell apart, but they welcomed Oregon with open arms, and it's helping them out because Michigan kind of sucks, and Penn State obviously isn't the best, but it's but getting back to what you're saying too, like I think college football has become more and more like politics, right? There's these media narratives about certain people, and it kind of takes a lot to break through. I think it's also this East Coast bias, and just because we're the West Coast Sojourn, that's why I'm talking about this. So another example I notice is, Fox is college football. Their big game is like noon game. And they call it like the Saturday noon game, but it's 9 a.m. on the West Coast.
Right.
It's only noon for half the country, So like, just some of those things feel a little outdated or not appropriate for the internet age in a way. But
I was at a bar downtown in Sacramento when that game was on, so I didn't really catch the audio for it. But I understand that Fox is using Barstool Sports now as their commentary. Are you seeing Dave, what's his name, from Barstool lately?
I don't know anything about them, but I have noticed that they are on their show is like featured.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're pretty right leaning. Right leaning, bro leaning. They Trumpy would be a good word. It's just another measure by which our culture gets a little nudge to the right. And I don't even think most people know. Because here's my thing about this politics thing that's been on my mind all weekend. None of us are Democrats and Republicans. We are all these individuals we could probably support 8 parties, and then we get funneled into them. And that doesn't tell us anything about who we are. It just talks about the choices we're offered,
Yeah, that's astute. Yeah, that's true. Definitely true.
Well, that's the thing, is that with Barstool, nobody's really minding that underneath it is a lot. Like if you listen to the podcast, you get to hear, the jokes that are going to offend our delicate sexual sensibilities and racial sensibilities. The thing is, man, we'll make the same jokes as anyone. They're as fucking left as anybody. The idea that people on the left are intolerant of like body humor. Every fucking comedian who's funny, has edgy jokes. That's weird. Weird how Democrats and the left are labeled or allow themselves to be labeled. It's my pet peeve.
Yeah, well, when they are so forward leaning with their use of pronouns or whatever, they kind of set themselves up for it in a sense that, we can be hypercritical of people. It's just that the cancel culture. I think there was a cancel culture on the left.
Sure.
I mean, maybe it's just more on Twitter, and it seemed, and it felt, like as social media gained kind of control of our narrative. And that was one thing too, is like, why are we paying so much attention to social media when there's so many bots, so many ill actors, like, Russians, Chinese, whatever, and we're still using this as the gauge for the people instead of talking to people directly? That's a problem. And that's when you have like, when things become so easy to divide or to virtue signal and such. Like, I think the virtue signaling on the left got a little bit out of control, and obnoxious for some people. And so we're going through the backlash to that. So yeah, the Barstool guys, it's kind of like this, the pendulum is switched back to the white guys, the, the heartland or whatever, these people that, seem to represent America, or at least the myth of America.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think the facade has been allowed to exist. And I think I was saying that with Chris Cluey when he was on, that the marketing war has been won by the Republicans. And I'm not sure why that is, because if you go into ad agencies around the country, you're going to find people who are left-ish at minimum. But, we don't control the narrative. I find that I find it frustrating in California, the ballot measure, I should say. I've seen 3-to-1 different kinds of no 150 ads as opposed to the one. And getting an ad on YouTube is not the most innovative thing in the world. You can do that. Why isn't it happening?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and these are the things that keep me from being a regular Democratic Party member. One more sports thing? One more? Can you do one more sports?
Yes.
This is a relatively short episode.
Wait, the real question is, can the audience handle one more?
Yeah, right. This one has nudity. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
What we have is I have a question about Scoot Henderson. Didn't you say he got hurt? Was he out for what? Really?
Scoot Henderson,
that guy.
as everyone has heard me go on and on about the Portland Trail Blazers, he is the young point guard they drafted a couple years ago that was supposed to be part of the future championship lineup. And it seems like every year he's been in the league so far, at the beginning of the year, he gets some little injury. So he tore his hamstring, which I don't want to say is a little energy. He'll be out for 2 months or something. But it kind of slows his development. He's somebody that needs a lot of court time because, you know, physically he's there, you know, he gives the effort, but he just needs to, you know, he plays point guard and that's like playing quarterback. So you need reps, you need time on the court playing with everybody. And so he, you know, he loses some time on that. You know, the Blazers had signed Drew Holiday, so he'll probably be the starting point guard, which will be just fine because he might have been the starter anyways. But with Damian Lillard out too, then all of a sudden you got the 35-year-old playing a lot of minutes and you're not developing Scoot the way you wanted to at the beginning of the year. So we'll see. I mean, I don't really know. Like, I haven't got into full NBA mode yet, even though today is the start of training camp for a lot of these teams. And we're going to have a great conversation with professional NBA writers coming up soon.
We got Chris Jenkins and Mike Wise coming for this. You know, I'll let him tell it, but Chris did some projects with LeBron. Maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe it'll be an off the mic conversation. But the thing about Scoot, and I want you to say your thing, but I thought the idea about bringing Drew Holiday around was to help mentor Scoot on how to be a point guard.
I mean, I think that's the plan, and that's still the plan, but just him being injured now, you know, he's not going to get that court time. And Drew Holiday's great, but he's not like the future of this team. This team is supposed to be building, you know, to like, maybe not this year, but next year they're going to make a serious playoff run or whatnot. And so this just kind of slows that development down in theory.
Can I offer my bold take?
Yeah.
That Lillard will never be more than a 20, 25-minute player again.
He might not. I mean, he's old and he's going to be coming off this Achilles injury, but I don't know. The dude is pretty serious about basketball and showing up. So
yeah, but I think his athleticism was a big part of his game, and he's going to be a 6'2", 6'3".
I think he's like 6'1", probably.
Yeah,
maybe 6'2" in shoes.
It's
I mean, he's a shooter though, right? I mean, that's his strength of his game was always like in the pick and roll with LaMarcus Aldridge or Enes Kanter or Robin, you know, whatever big man was on the team. And part of that is having the threat of going to the rim and finishing with a layup, because we all know he can shoot 3-pointers.
That's what I'm saying.
As good as anybody, not named Steph Curry. So, you know, and as a shooter, I think he'll still have his legs and stuff because the guy is always kind of phenomenally known for his conditioning. He'll get back in. I don't think he's got more than 2 years in him, you know, like he'll come back, play next year, and then maybe the year after that. And you're right. I wouldn't be surprised if he's coming off the bench playing 20 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a hot take, Danelle, but I'll take it.
Hey, you know, I do think that the issue is going to be people aren't going to feel like they have to play off of him because he's not going to have that explosion to the basket. But we'll see. Right. I got to tell you, because we're putting together this episode with the NBA preview, that Mike Wise has told me, he sent me an email that he has LeBron winning it all in his final year. His final year. And even I don't believe that as a quasi-Lakers fan. You know, I'm struggling with the Lakers, rooting for the Lakers thing because of the ownership deal, but They're sucking me in, man. I think this is going to be a really strong season. I think they can make it to the conference finals, but the idea of them winning the championship, I don't really buy it.
I mean, if OKC stays healthy, I don't know that the Lakers can beat OKC, let alone the Timberwolves or even Dallas. Like if Kyrie comes back.
Yeah, that's true. Denver is better, though. There's a lot of
in Denver, yeah,
which probably means a lot for the teams back east.
You know, it's, I don't know if, you know, basketball has always been superstar driven, but I think, and so in that sense, Mike, you know, wanting to take LeBron, and we'll obviously let him come on and talk about it, but that's a superstar move, right? Oh, they've got Luka, they've got LeBron, but like, you know, are they as deep as OKC? That's always been the Lakers' problems. They don't have any depth. So one of those guys misses 20, 25 games out of the year. All of a sudden the Lakers are the 6th seed instead of the 2nd seed or the 3rd seed, and they're having to go on the road for their first playoff series, and they might lose. I mean, that's what's happened the last couple of years, I think. So.
Right. Have you seen Jake Arvia play at all? Are you familiar with him? He played for the Kings a little bit, another second market, third market team. But he's supposedly been really great in training camp, and he's the wing that they've been looking for. Yeah, not quite a. What am I thinking?
Arvia? I don't think I've.
Yeah, I might be saying his name wrong, but I've been getting indoctrinated listening to the. I don't know if I told
Sacramento.
No, not Sacramento. Yeah, this is a hopeless basketball town. Except the people love it. That's something. Light the beam. No, I've been indoctrinated listening to Lakers Film Room, which is now entering its 10th year, but that's my podcast. And the press conference yesterday with JJ and the GM, Rob
Pelinka, Rob Lowe.
Rob what?
Rob Lowe.
What's his name?
Because he looks just like Rob Pelinka,
but
he looks just like Rob Lowe.
No, he looks like someone else. Well, anyway, Rob Pelinka. Yeah, they were talking about camp through this or training through the summer and how the best player on the team right now is Austin Reeves. He's playing the best ball, and they sound like they're gonna go. I've got a whole thing about the Lakers. Is I've tried not to be a fan, but yeah, maybe I should unveil it here. My new nickname for Andre Ayton with this lineup around him, Andre Eaton, because that motherfucker
is gonna eat.
Andre Eaton. That's my headline when he scores 35. And I think he's going to be made to play defense by one
LeBron James.
That's right.
It's going to be him, not JJ Redick, I don't think. Because if Chauncey couldn't do it, I don't think it's a coach thing. It'll be a pure pressure thing with DeAndre Ayton, right? Because I don't know that he's ever played. I mean, what did he play with Durant in Phoenix for 1 year? Maybe I don't think he did.
Yeah,
it was just Booker.
Well, he had a great finals, but I don't think Durant was there. It was not a finals. He had a great playoffs.
Right. Yeah, he went on a tear. That was like his rookie year, I think, too.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, somebody like LeBron, who he probably respects and fears, is the type of player that can, I mean, the same as the kind of effect that he's had on Luka probably, too. Like, you better get in shape. And it did with Anthony Davis, too, right? So people respect LeBron in that way. They're going to want to show up for him. So you might be right. I mean, Ayton had talent. He just, it just seemed like he wasn't fully committed.
Yeah. And some people need that. So yeah, we've got all these great storylines, and what are we doing when we have Chris Jenkins has done some really good work, documentary work, in addition to the journalism. These are both Times guys with Mike Wides. And what are the themes? There's some themes you're eager to get into. We got to talk about the Clippers and Uncle Dennis. Uncle Dennis is one of the great characters. And the Steve Ballmer story, I should call it, because he's the person who's going to be fined for this fake job that was given to Kawhi Leonard. Is that a succinct way of explaining that?
Yeah, Kawhi was paid $15 million 28 million to be a part of this organization that he didn't really show up for, and it was just seen as a way to get around the NBA salary cap by giving him this extra money that wasn't as part of his contract, but got him to stick around for the Clippers.
It's interesting because people talked about the fine that Ballmer should pay, and he's so extraordinarily wealthy. I think I saw $8 billion fine suggested by someone credible. That's a lot worse than losing a draft pick, you know.
I mean, the one thing about fines that I like in the NBA is I think all that money is supposed to go towards charity, right? So that's nice that somebody might get $8 billion, but it's not going to change his behavior or other teams' behavior necessarily.
Really?
I mean, they're not going to do it again because they won't be like get in trouble for it again. But I'm just saying, like, as a deterrent for an NBA team, you need to take away draft picks. That's the way to do it. I think more than fines. It's like, oh, we just lost 2 first-round draft picks because of this.
Yeah.
That would be a way to deter other teams from thinking about it.
Well, Ballmer seems to be such a fan. That would probably punish him a lot more than billions. You know, he shits billions.
Right.
All right. So listen, we're going to close it out in this abbreviated free episode of the podcast. Any points you want to make along the way?
No, but we're excited to have some cool guests coming up, and you know, let's just hope that my neighborhood doesn't blow up.
Oh no, yeah, we can't have that. You've got a great house on top of everything else. But I'll see you up there, and we're gonna be hanging out with Jeff Chang when he comes up here in November. That's one thing.
Yeah, it's great to see Jeff Chang, who joined us a few weeks ago, talking about his Bruce Lee book. That book's taken off. I think.
Is it really?
Well, I haven't looked at like sales or whatnot, but I mean, he's getting attention, and there's a lot of cool events he's been involved with promoting that I've noticed online, and so I'm happy for him.
It's an important book. You didn't know you needed to know more stuff about Bruce Lee, but you did.
Yeah.
All right, dude. We'll talk soon. I'll see you in town in person soon. All right.
Yeah, we'll hook up.
All right.